Hey fight fans, welcome back to the Fight Book. This is the Indian accent guy, and in this video we are only going to talk about weigh-in shows because there are some interesting news about these weigh-in shows that you as a fight fan needs to know about. This includes UFC weigh-ins as well as Eubank Jr versus Connor Benn weigh-in shows. So without wasting any time, let's start the video. First, let's talk about UFC weigh-ins, where man and co-man is official. All the fighters made weight except Giga Chikadze, who is fighting in the featherweight division against David Onama. He missed his weight by only 1 pound and will be fined 20% of his purse to David Onama as the fight will proceed as scheduled. And Ian Machado Garry also made weight, but as you know, where there is Ian Garry, there is heat. Just before coming up to the scale, Ian Garry got into it against Michel Pereira, who is a UFC middleweight fighting against Nurmagomedov. During their so-called altercation, Pereira told Garry that Pratis is gonna kill him. And that was all something interesting from the UFC weigh-in shows that you needed to know about. Now let's talk about Connor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. weigh-in show, and this is the real story. As we all know, the weight limit for their fight was 160 pounds and Connor Benn weighs at 156.4 pounds ahead of their showdown. But Chris Eubank Jr. was 160.2 pounds on his first attempt and then weighed 160.05 pounds for his second and last attempt. He is fined $500,000 per the weight clause in the contract, and now he can't exceed 170 pounds at the same day weigh-in or he will face further penalty. The same day weigh-in is tomorrow at 8 a.m. London time, which means Eubank Jr. will have about 20 hours where he won't be able to gain more than 10 pounds, and then he will have approximately 15 to 16 hours to rehydrate until ring walks. Of course, there was a little controversy about the scales, but it is what it is. Anyway, Connor Benn reacts to Eubank Jr. being fined $500K for missing weight, and he looked happy getting $500K extra from Eubank Jr.'s pocket. Eubank is spending on this fight, giving $50K for the undercard fighters of their previous card, trying to bet $1 million with Eddie Hearn, 100,000 pounds for snapping the ad to Connor Benn, and now $500,000 to Benn for missing weight by only 22 grams, where the Triple BFC could also stand to fine Eubank Jr. more for the weight miss. Anyway, his next challenge is now making weight again tomorrow morning, where he must weigh under 170 pounds or he will have to pay a larger fine that's expected to be around $1 million. By the way, after getting some harsh criticism from the fans, Eubank Jr. shows his fans that he did everything to make weight. I also believe him because he would have fined the same if he had weighed 160.99 pounds, but he did whatever he could have done. This grudge match was already one of the biggest fights in the UK history, and now with these controversies, this fight has now more eyes on it. Connor Benn's father, Nigel Benn, would lost his WBO middleweight title on Chris Eubank Sr. in 1990, and then they both went to a draw in their next meeting in 1993, which was a super middleweight titles unification bout. Nigel is now supporting his son, who usually fights at welterweight, to get the win over Eubank, who is a middleweight fighter. On the other hand, the relationship between Eubank Sr. and Jr. is not good, as they both haven't even talked in years. Eubank Sr. calls his son a disgrace for slapping Connor Benn with an egg and says he will never be in his son's corner. Eubank Sr. called for his son Eubank Jr. to fight Canelo Alvarez instead. Maybe you don't know, but Chris Eubank Jr. will be the crowd favorite for the first time in his professional boxing career on Saturday night. Eubank is receiving a massive support in the UK for this fight. Maybe that's the reason that despite not having his father in his corner, Eubank Jr. is confident that he isn't gonna lose to a guy who is 2 weight classes lower than him. In their press conference, Chris Eubank Jr. even promised to erase Connor Benn from boxing. He also confirmed during the fight build-up that he will retire from boxing if he loses to Connor Benn tomorrow night. Moreover, this fight is not only between these two fighters, even their teams doesn't like each other. At backstage during the weigh-in show, Matchroom CEO Frank Smith clashes with Team Eubank's Mazhar Majid. As per reports from the Boxing Kingdom, both of the fighters will make $10 million for this fight, and they also have a rematch clause, which means you can expect the rematch as well unless Connor Benn got beaten very dominantly. Now you tell me in the comment section that you are excited for this fight or you are only planning to watch UFC Kansas City card. So let's end this video right here. You do share your thoughts in the comment section before closing the video and then start doing whatever you want to do.